Yeah, so David, that's a good point Eamon says there in terms of politicians particularly. You have to listen and show empathy for what people are going through, and that sometimes might not be pure economic policy.
There's no doubt people are doing it tough, but at the end of the day, you've got to take a decision as Treasurer and as a government and cabinet. Are we going to pump prime the economy and potentially drive up rates, or hold rates at what is a historic high level, at least over the last 20, 25 years, and the government's chosen to do the latter? And if you listen to the Reserve Bank Governor, Michelle Bullock, she has singled out state and federal spending, wage hikes. They look at the unit cost of labour, and these are too high. Her job is singular. She has to keep inflation in a band of 2 to 3%, and it is outside that band and uncomfortably higher. So if you're going to take the decision to support the needy, and we all get that, we all understand that, but leave mortgagees and business paying higher than necessary interest rates, that is a political call you've taken. That does not help people with their cost of living crisis. It makes it worse.
While there wasn't a rate increase, Eamon, and I understand what you're saying, a lot of countries are facing this, but the ongoing slog on cost of living with the rates to remain where they are, possibly to the election and beyond, this is also poses a huge, potentially existential challenge for the government, as we've seen for incumbents around the world.
Yeah, absolutely. But Australia is not immune. But when you look around, things are tough for a lot of people, but they're also tough in other parts of the world. I've just been with Jim Chalmers. I've just literally left him now. I got to say, he is a man who has cost of living and inflation and getting a good economic result for this country. That is number one. And this is a guy who's losing sleep over it at the moment. But I've got to say, when you compare his performance to that of his predecessor, I know who I'd prefer in terms of calling the shots. Let's not forget two budget surpluses, also a good thing. That wasn't achieved for 10 years. Let's not forget also what the alternative was, which is tax cuts for the very rich only. I mean, what would that have done? Also, a $600 billion nuclear power plant. I mean, that would just wreck everything. So, I think you've got to take into account there are political calls to be made, and there's policy calls to be made, and fiscal ones. And I think you're looking for a balance of all of those. And I think we're as close to it, given current global, circumstances.
And when you look at the outlook as well towards the next election, David Gazard, that the block or that teal wall remains Peter Dutton's. I think that's the challenge that prevents us from suggesting a coalition government is possible or likely. But do you feel that this cost of living issue, that this economic issue, the way it is, could help shift some of those teal seats even, potentially?
Well, it's an interesting scenario, isn't it? Because at the moment, the electors in what used to be coalition seats who went teal would be looking at their members who are as useful as a glass eye and a keyhole. They have no power at all in the lower house. They'd be looking and seeing their investment portfolios, the cost of living, and going, well, we sent them a message last time, but really was it that effective? Now they may lock in behind those teals. Certainly polls show that the coalition needs to get its primary vote up. Traditionally, it's needed to get it into the low 40s, low to mid 40s. It's sitting around 39 or 40 at the moment. Labor's vote is at historic low levels. It won the last election with the help of the Teals and the Greens on a primary vote of 32%. That's probably a little lower at the moment. So what we're looking at is the possibility of a hung parliament and the economic chaos and instability that brings. With a crossbench that uses its mandate in the lower house potentially to drive through a whole range of things, particularly with the Greens, that may not be so favourable for the economy.
David Gazard, Eamon Fitzpatrick, we've got to move on. I appreciate it as always. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Kieran.